That's probably the biggest myth in email marketing today.
Welcome to the Active Marketer Podcast, where we talk about how to design, automate, and scale your business to the next level using sales and marketing automation. You can find out all the tips, tactics, and techniques you need to get more customers and sell more stuff over at theactivemarketer.com. Now, here's your host, Barry Moore.
Welcome back, listener, to the Active Marketer Podcast. I'm your host, Barry Moore. This week, we have a really interesting topic to discuss, and that's email deliverability. Been hearing a lot of stuff online about the deliverability of this platform versus that platform. Lots of rumors, lots of myths floating around. I wanted to get somebody on who could tell us the straight scoop on what goes into email deliverability, number one, and number two, how we can give ourselves the best chance of hitting the primary tab in Gmail, the highly coveted primary tab. So how can we skip those promotion tabs and get straight to the primary tab? Now, this is a little bit of a long interview with Chris Lang, an email deliverability Jedi. So we're going to skip the normal kind of intro stuff, and we're going to go straight into this interview, but we'll be back next week with the Shameless Social Proof segment. So if you want to leave us a review, jump on iTunes, and I'll read it out on a future show. In the meantime, let's get into this week's episode. All right, with the new Star Wars movie so close to dropping into theaters, I thought we should get a Jedi on the show today. So we've got Chris Lang, Email Delivery Jedi. How are you, Chris?
I'm very good, Barry, and thanks for having me.
I am really looking forward to this one. It just seems like in the last, maybe the last month or 6 weeks or something, it's just been about a massive kind of kerfuffle about delivery, email deliverability, and people complaining about one service provider or the other when probably most of the time it's kind of their own fault. So I thought we might get somebody on who is a delivery expert, and we could talk about, first of all, like what are some of the myths and surrounding deliverability, and also how we can take some steps to get to get the most out of our emails and make sure they're given the best chance to get into the inbox. Does that sound cool?
Sounds great.
First of all, how do you get to become a delivery Jedi?
Well, by pure accident is how you become an email delivery Jedi, and you never really want to do this. It's just one of those things that you have to do. In 2008, I had a little ebook about SEO and social bookmarking called Wickedly Evil Social Marketing Tactics. And I built the site up around it, and we were huge into social bookmarking and its effects on SEO before anybody else talked about social having an effect on SEO. And, I built my site up from about 8 visits a month to 40,000 a month in over the course of the summer. And I was making $5,000 a week and seeing about 40,000 uniques a month. Nice. All of a sudden, everything disappeared, just like that. No sales, no traffic, nothing. My email list all of a sudden started appearing in all kinds of spam filters for no reason. It took me over 30 days of digging through Google to find a nice little new piece of antivirus, reputation of the URL via Trend Micro. Took me 30 days to even figure out who Trend Micro was and to finally get to the bottom of it and find out that, yes, they were blocking me. It took me a little bit to get clear of them. They said, oh, sorry, false positive, and that was it. And I'm like, well, how about a statement, How about saying, nope, we won't do that. We'll simply unblock you. Anything else, you should contact your lawyer. And after that, I became pretty obsessed with various ways that your email and your site can be blocked. And I had no plans to become an expert on this. It happened. I was forced into it by the situation. And I've been writing about email delivery for almost 7 years now via emaildeliveryjedi.com. It wasn't fun. But I found the process really interesting, Barry. I consider myself to be an email detective because it's not about the blocking. It's about something that has occurred deep down somewhere in one of your sites that you don't even know about, that has triggered something stupid somewhere. And often these block lists do share their block list. And, the big names are always watching the lesser block list. Not exactly, I won't say they're connected to each other. I would say they're all working together. But the anti-spam community is a small one and a very tight one.
So I guess email delivery is a pretty broad topic. So for this call and this interview, what we're going to talk about, can we maybe narrow that down? What does email deliverability mean to you, and what are we talking about here?
Well, I tell you, it's a moving target, Barry, and I think about it night and day, every day. It's all I do and the only thing I do. And it's probably the most focused I've ever been in 17 years online. I don't worry about traffic. I don't worry about anything else. I get all my business through referrals, and I simply kind of stay on top of my mad scientist thinking, as some people call it, around deliverability today. Because, you hear a lot of complaining about the ESPs that send your email. But really, Barry, if you were going to the spam folder because of, say, AWeber, then everybody at AWeber would be going to the spam folder.
Yeah, exactly.
It's completely untrue that one platform has better deliverability than others. Sure, they go through cycles. At times, some are better than others. But really, 50% of email delivery is really your own responsibility. The autoresponders, the ESPs, Active Campaign, Infusionsoft, etc., they will get the email delivered. What actually happens to it today, especially at Gmail, is up to you. IP reputation has very little to do with the algorithmic various inboxes that are at Gmail these days, especially the Gmail promotions tab.
And I'm assuming that all those recipient servers and recipient companies, they know that, like, oh, these are all the IPs for AWeber, these are all the IPs for Infusions. Like, they know that. It's not like a surprise where the email's coming from, right?
Oh, sure. It's all public in, well, first of all, it's all public in DNS. So, I mean, we all know that AWeber has over 500 IPs, and they have two complete ranges. And so does everybody else in these ESPs. Tell what the people that they're delivering to them this email for us to, that these are their IPs. We've all heard of various ways of improving your IP reputation, etc. And there's SPF and there's DKIM and all this stuff's out there, and everybody's doing it. I mean, it's all public out there for the taking if you know what to look for as a person. But it's really set up for the machines to communicate and know who's who.
And is there a way for you as the person, you as the sender, you as the domain owner, to check your ESP and see what kind of deliverability it's having, or if there's any problems or any black flags or anything?
When it comes to let's talk about the big names. I mean, GetResponse, MailChimp, AWeber, Infusionsoft, Active Campaign, etc. I mean, they have entire deliverability departments that take care of that. I mean, when you go with any of the big names, you don't really have to worry about them. There's really not much that the average person can do to identify that one's better than the other. But there's a lot of things that they do that we as normal people can change on our end. So worrying about, if your bounce rate goes up from 1% to 3%, that's a waste of your time. I mean, concentrate on the 97% that are getting your emails and use a platform that fits you. I mean, I know you're big on automation. Some people are more big on just hardcore delivery, like I am. Other people, jump autoresponders due to the price. So I wouldn't even waste my time worrying about any of these big names' deliverability. They're all about the same.
Okay. So, are any other myths out there that you've heard, like people saying, "Oh, it's got to be this or it's got to be that," when it's just blatantly untrue?
Well, I mean, there's a few things floating around out there that I really disagree with, and let's kind of start at the top of that. I'm glad you mentioned it. Listening to deliverability advice on Facebook and blogs is probably your biggest mistake.
Yeah.
And that being this advice that's been floating around for about the last year and a half. that deleting unengagers is going to raise your deliverability. And that is true. However, without knowing your true delivery metrics, without hiring somebody to take a look at your basic delivery and find out whether or not you might be going to the spam folder at AOL or Microsoft, which is now all Microsoft properties, etc. Hotmail, Live, MSN, all go into Outlook.com. Yahoo. Yahoo at times could be 40% a list. And of course, the Gmail promotions tab. And then the ones nobody ever talks about, cable companies like Comcast. Cable companies can be sitting at 10% of your list, and these people can easily never receive your emails. So if you have a problem with one of these other providers, or any or all of these providers, just one spam folder problem that you don't know about because nobody picks up the phone and tells you you're in our spam folder. You need to fix this. They don't tell you that. Then deleting these unengager segments can be your biggest mistake ever. When really you probably need to have a deliverability audit via some email delivery expert. I'm not the only one out there, so I'm not pitching my services, but you don't have to look far to find people in Google that are email delivery experts and hire somebody for a few $100s because, if you're going to delete 10,000 unengagers, you better be darn well sure that those unengagers are really unengaged and that you don't just have an email, a delivery problem. And one thing about autoresponders is they don't tell you, they give you gross stats for the most part. They don't tell you that, Gmail, Yahoo, etc. They don't say, by the way, you're not getting any opens at. No, you just select that segment and delete it. And I mean, how much would you pay, Barry, for 10,000 new subscribers?
Yeah, for sure. So is there a way, what are the metrics that you look at and where do you find those?
I would suggest everybody should have some delivery expert do a deep, intense audit on all of their domains and everything that's going on and give them a health report.
Okay.
That right there, okay, so now I'm all healthy. This person that I hired as a delivery expert cannot find anything going wrong. Now it's time to think about deleting unengagers, and I agree with it at that point. That's probably the biggest myth. And here's another term that I hate too, Barry, the term has become scrubbing the list. Scrubbing the list is scrubbing the list with a great piece of software and using a really great service. It's not deleting unengagers. And what's called scrubbing the list is a term that's suddenly been applied to simply deleting unengagers with no more thought of it or look to it than I just described. That's probably the biggest myth in email marketing today.
Okay, fair enough. So let's say you're not a detective, or you've hired a detective and they've given you a clean bill of health or told you what your problems are, and now you're starting over again. What are some of the steps you can take as kind of the list owner, the emailer, the marketer, the business owner, to give yourself the best chance? What things can I do with my email? What things should I avoid with my email to try and get into that coveted primary inbox tab in Gmail?
Well, the biggest mistake that you can make at the point at which you have a clean bill of health and your list is engaging highly. And that's just not believing that your subscribers are just not that into you.
Yeah.
And that being that you are unwilling to change. I had a guy on Facebook tell me that he could give a flying whatever about Gmail's promotion tab and that there was no way he was going to hack up his beautiful emails or change his hard-hitting, brilliant copy just to satisfy Gmail's promotion tab and be in the primary. That's probably the biggest mistake you can make, is being so in love with your own marketing and your own copy and your pretty emails that you're unwilling to make any kind of changes.
Yeah, so he's the only one that gets to appreciate how pretty his emails are because they're not making it to anybody's inbox.
Gmail is very different from any other email client. All other email clients are static filters that take cues from their own internal spam detection, and they take cues from blacklists and external blocklists. Gmail, on the other hand, it almost entirely takes cues from its own algorithmic and dynamic process. So you could be in the spam folder one day, you could be in promotions another, you could be in the primary in the day after that. And when I started noticing that lists that I subscribed to were not simply sitting in the same tab day in and day out, and I noticed that some days they were in different places. Sometimes you might find an email that you would normally expect to read every day in the spam folder. And next week, they're back in the primary. So this is when I really began to think about Gmail as a highly personalized email client. And I dug deeper and deeper, and I found some of the algorithms behind Gmail. And Gmail PhDs and developers of the algorithms have said publicly that Gmail is customized on a per-person basis. And that's when I really began to get interested in what the machines were doing about a year ago. And and to be sure to this, let's not mislead anybody here. If you read your email in Gmail and use it as your email client, you cannot depend on anything that happens there as being what would happen in someone else's, because you have basically trained Gmail to your responses.
Yeah, so it basically customizes itself to you and your habits, right? Yeah.
So if you're using your Gmail as basically your own Gmail or your own Google account, where you receive and read email as basically the yardstick for your Gmail delivery, you're making a huge mistake there. My Gmail has been set at the defaults. I've never read more than a few emails a month there since I was a post beta tester in the first release. You know, when you had to get an invite from somebody in what was it, 2004. I have never read my Gmail. I'm never going to read my Gmail. I divide my business between my domain and I send everything, all my newsletters to Gmail. You have already altered things through your own customizations, what you open, what you read, etc. We could go on and on about that forever, but we're going to try not to run too far over your time, Barry. So my Gmail account is just basically as close to the defaults as I can get them. I accept Google's Gmail's defaults, and I never change anything. I enabled tabs when they first came out in the very early days, late summer 2013. So my observations there, and amongst 10 other seed accounts that I have on Gmail, are my own, not using software and not using any robots, which certainly Google would not like if you're trying to analyze delivery. So it's pretty much on a personal observation basis. And I found roughly about 30 things that can send you to the promotions tab. And there's no rules or rhyme or reason. It all depends on what particular algorithm Google has weighted today, just much like Google search. But there's we'll just see if we can move through my top 10 list here.
Yeah,
kind of count them down like Letterman. So at 10, we have, not believing that they're just not that into you. That's probably the least important and the most important. It depends on your mindset. If you're unwilling to make changes, then it's the most important. Only emailing when you're promoting something. You have to mix some good content in there. I mean, engagement is one of the big keys to Gmail algorithms. So you've got to mix promotions with great content. I know many people that for some reason can get away with doing nothing but hammering their list day in, day out with promotions and are in the primary tab. Is that something we can depend on? No, it's probably more like a anomaly. Just one of those weird things that happen that you can't explain. And the guy's doing well at it. It is what it is. You'll see some people in your primary tab that should not seem to be there, but they are. And it's one of those things that I can't decode, and you shouldn't worry about either. And you certainly shouldn't imitate it.
Yeah, I have noticed like when going through an automation that might be like 5, 6, 7, 10 emails long, and I'm just testing them before turning the automation on. I go, okay, test send this one, test send that one, test send that one. And even those 4 emails that I've just sent in the span of, a couple of minutes, they may all end up on a different tab in Gmail, even though they're all coming from the same IP address, the same sender, the same everything, and they just pop into different tabs.
When you if you learn or read anything about email learning or data analysis, basically what you do is you throw out the anomalies and pay attention to the data that lines up. That's how machines learn, and that's kind of how I learn too. Is I look for anomalies and I look for things that I can identify that are stable. And one of the most interesting things that's happened at Google in this past year, of course, was Mobilegeddon. Google forcing us to be mobile friendly or not be listed in search on mobile devices. So I kind of thought about this as far as Gmail. And the next one, number 8, is, I use really small text because, hey, I have a really big phone. Now, if Gmail is based on engagement, opening the email, spending time with the email open and scrolling down the page, meaning you've read it. And, of course, there's a lot of question about whether or not clicking the link is something Google counts or not. So we're not going to go into that. There's 2 sides of that fence. I'm, of course, on the yes fence. But now let's say that your email is not mobile friendly. It uses really small text, or it uses one of those ancient, say, Infusionsoft templates with the big product sidebar down the side. Mm-hmm. Well, somebody's going to open that email and go, I can't read that, and they're going to close it. And the next time your email comes in on a mobile device, they already know what it's going to look like. They're not going to open it. And in that case, I would say mobile-friendly emails do affect engagement and hence your ability to make it to the primary tab. What you really want to think about is who is reading your email on what device. And that can best be represented by Google Analytics. Go to Google Analytics, go to the Audience tab, the Mobile tab, and then Devices. And you will find, especially in a civilian market, that people don't have a really big phone today, that roughly 40 to 60% of your email is still read on an iPhone 5, and that is an incredibly small device.
So what kind of pixel size would you recommend there if you're creating your own custom email templates and you want to make sure you're sending them out in a mobile-friendly size font?
Most people agree on Arial in 16-pixel font. I myself tend to go a little bigger, especially because I have a couple of those 350 some pixel wide phones like a iPhone. And I find that 18 to 22 pixels works for me because I don't want to have to pull my glasses out to read my phone.
Yeah, for sure. So
another one. This is one that people disagree on, but we tested the other day. Using a business name as your from address. The other day, a lot of people will say, no, it doesn't affect it. And I see a lot of business names that get to my promotion stamp. And I see a few that make it into primary. And we tested it the other day. We sent a list of 238,000. We sent an email at 10 o'clock with the business name, went to promotions. Sent the same email to the same list with a personal from name, went to the primary tab. Now, that's not to say that this is a rule. This is true that you can't use a business address. Let's just say we tested it and that's what happened. I would say it would be left up to you to test it.
Right. So, yeah, I would agree. So if it's coming from a person, you're more likely to jump the hurdles than if you're coming from some business name. It
was odd that the business name sent it to the promotions. Yeah. 30 minutes later, the real person name sent it to primary.
Yeah, cool.
Really odd metric there. And we'll explain why that could happen as we move down. Okay, so I use lots of images in my email. Well, because Pinterest. That's okay, great, guys. Email is not Pinterest. You get one email, you get one picture in email. Make it an effective one. Just that simple, especially if you're having problems with the promotions tab. That would be the first place I would look.
And that includes all the, pardon my language, but all the bullshit footer and face stuff that people put into their emails, the little social media icon.
Social media icons are the ones I hate the most.
Yeah.
And we touched on number 5, big fat newsletter style templates. Yeah. We all want an entire magazine in our email, right?
Yeah, because I want to read a magazine on my phone. Yeah, right.
I mean, Social Media Examiner is a very, very popular blog and a very popular list, very large list. Last I heard, it was last time I talked to somebody there, they said the list was about 300,000 this time a year ago. So we're probably guessing it may be twice that size now. Using a big Infusionsoft style template and in the promotions tab a lot. I really don't have time to read 10 things from anybody. And especially when I've already read 10 other things in the primary tab, and now I'm looking at promotions, and there they are. So, and to not to demean Social Media Examiner in the least, Michael Stolster's an awesome guy. A lot of my clients are very good friends with him. But it was his email especially that tends to pop in and out of primary, and to promotions. It was one of the early ones that gave me a head up. Using a SIG file. I think we just touched on that a little bit before. Number 4, using a SIG file. You've got them in your email list. Why do you want to send them back to social?
Yeah, exactly. So
people are always looking for a way out of your marketing. Don't give them one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're spending all that time on social media trying to drive them back to your site, get on the list while you're driving them back out again.
Exactly. Lots of links in your email. The more links, the more clicks you're going to get, right? And we're down to basically thinking that the number of links in Gmail can only be 2 to 3 is most of the thinking through testing. I've talked to a lot of people on Facebook that also work for large autoresponder services. Some of them, I'm sure Barry, and we all kind of differ on it, but let's just kind of touch on what this list is here too, because it's not a list of things you can't do. It's not a list of things you have to do. Let's just say the more of these things that you do, the more you're going to be in the promotions tab. So depending on your marketing, what converts, what makes your email work and make you money, you might want to leave the other things behind.
Yeah. Now, where do you stand on, I know on your list it kind of says one link only, I see a lot of marketers kind of use the tactic where they're sending out an offer, they have a couple paragraphs of text, they have a link to the offer, a couple paragraphs of text, and then another link to the offer at the bottom. But it's the same URL, like both those links are pointing to the same place. They're just trying to avoid making people scroll back up or scroll back down or whatever to get the link. So
especially on a mobile device, that's effective. So just interject there. Real effective on a mobile device.
Would that count as 2 links, or would the Gmail see that as one link because it's the same URL? Or
in my testing, I've seen people. We kind of invented, some of my partners about 5 years ago were the first to start using the 3 links, three paragraphs of copy. I see those kinds of emails in my primary today, and I check them, and they're all the same link.
Yeah.
Don't think it has an effect. It's when you start sending people to 3-4 different places, that kind of tends to tell Google, well, you're kind of shooting at ducks with a shotgun, hoping somebody clicks one of them. I'll give everybody an option, and it'll cover the 3 possible conversions that my list might be looking to take me up on.
Spray and pray.
Yeah, spray and pray. There you go. I knew you had a better illustration than me.
That's right.
Well, one of the biggest things that irritates me, Barry, is number 2 here on my top 10 list. You say on the first contact email, whitelist my email, because everyone knows how to do that, huh?
Right.
Things have changed a lot. Adding someone to your address book does not always work. Gmail's made it a moving target and moved it to 3 different places in the last 2 years. It's now currently under a drop-down. It's different on mobile. It's different on desktop. So, about 7 years ago, whitelisting an email became one of the best delivery indicators. Still very true today. And I built something called a email whitelist generator. And it basically contains whitelisting instructions, safe sender instructions, or address book instructions for all the major antivirus software and all the major ESPs. And I update that each year. I invented the darn thing. All you have to do is Google for it. It's free. You don't even have to give me your email address to get it if you don't want. This email whitelist generator is an absolute must-have, because if the person does not know how to whitelist your email, they need to know where they need instructions to do so. And it's something that should come on first contact. That first email, you should give them the option to whitelist that email and instructions if they don't know how. Outlook.com, AOL. AOL's webmail version has replaced everything else there. And Outlook, the standalone client. All three of those, you have to jump through a few hoops to get that person into a safe senders list. It's not as easy as just having them in your address book anymore. So that's number two. Give them some instructions. Help the person.
Yeah.
If they need help, you're making a friend. And it's free. I mean, I should probably be a little more stiff about having to opt in and have a real deep funnel, but I don't. I kind of like it the way it is. I'm a pretty aggressive marketer, but I get tired of having to give up my email address for everything.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I guess that brings us to number one. What's the number one thing on your list?
Changing your from address will get you more engagement, and change it often. The biggest myth in email delivery today, I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, if you change, you're not getting much engagement." Well, change your from address, and yes, that's the ESP testing for you for engagement. So you've changed things. The machines only have so much to go on, and today, the from address and the from name text is still the machine's best way and front line of defense against spam. And this goes back to, of course, the whitelisting email as well. But yes, if you change your from address and mail your list tomorrow, you will probably get one of the better open rates that you've gotten in a while. And you probably will continue to see that for a bit. And then slowly you will sink back down to probably anywhere from below to far below where you were before. I've been emailing from Chris at keywebdata.com since 2003. I've been using Aweber as my main list ESP since 1999. I've been using the same from address for 12 years. I am literally in hundreds of thousands of address books. And that is probably my biggest secret to my delivery success, is getting whitelisted and getting in people's address books. And I seriously think that, say, like Gmail, basically says, okay, he's in this many recipients' address books. He sent this many emails. The ratio is very close to each other. That's a really white hat list. Promotion, and then we don't see the promotions tab. We see the primary. And just to kind of wrap up Gmail, most deliverability experts that I talk to, and I talk to a number of people that are the man at various large autoresponder services. And we all agree that Gmail is built from somewhere around 450 to 500 specific algorithms.
Right.
So, and Gmail, the head of Gmail about 9 months ago said in a big interview, do not try to game the Gmail promotions tab. If you're there, you belong there. So just to kind of close things up, I'm not suggesting you game anything. I'm suggesting that you look at what businesses do to belong in the promotions tab and then not do it.
Yeah.
That's my finish.
I guess you could almost sum that up in kind of one little phrase is, is if you're sending emails like you would normally send a friend, you're using that conversational tone, you're not overloading them with HTML. Like when I email my friends, I don't give them stupid HTML newsletter templates. I send them a normal looking email with maybe a couple of links in it. I don't have my social media profile links spattered everywhere. And it looks like a normal person to person email. So, would be your advice be to use that same sort of email for all your kind of business promotion stuff?
Well, I tend to talk to my email list like they're my old college buddy at happy hour, and we've got about 3 beers in us. I'm a working class guy, been a working class guy my whole life.
And I would suggest when doing any marketing, you have at least 3 beers first.
There you go.
There you go.
It's if you start working on it at 3 beers, though, there might be 3 more beers that come in, and you might be a little too friendly.
And there might be a few more typos than you want to deal with.
Yeah, you might use some ad copy that was maybe a little too, let's call it sexy. You get a little too sexy in your ad copy. But yeah, I totally agree. Talking to people like they're people. Most of your list is not going to be made up of Frank Kern, Evan Pagan, Ryan Dice, Russell Brunson, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to be made up of normal, average, everyday people that open your email expecting to hear from a friend.
Yeah, for sure.
So you don't have to talk to people like they're a business presentation.
All right, Chris, we might wrap it up there. Where can people reach out, get more information on you and what you do?
Well, you have 2 choices. I'll teach you how to do this yourself. If you want to, I think that every marketer should have a basic understanding of how email is really delivered today in their toolbox. EmailDeliveryJedi.com, price to sell, teach you everything you need to know. And if you're going to hire an email delivery expert, it wouldn't be too bad to understand what he's saying either. However, if you want it all done for you, there's a spot on the bottom of EmailDeliveryJedi.com where you can pick up the phone and call me, email me, and I'm always glad to help on whatever level. And lastly, EmailDeliveryJedi.com/whitelist. EmailDeliveryJedi.com/whitelist. That's where you can get that email whitelist generator. It's a single file, contains everything, and you can simply FTP it to a directory on your site, and please do enjoy using it.
All right, and I would suggest everybody get that and put that in your very least your first email out to someone new to your list. All right, and all those links will be in the show notes. Chris, I want to thank you very much for coming on and sharing all your Jedi wisdom with us, and look forward to consuming more of your content online and in my primary tab.
I hope so. Thank you, Barry.
All right, thanks, Chris. See you. Really insightful information there from Chris, and some stuff I plan to go ahead and action straight away. If you want to get anything we mentioned in the show today, Chris's top 10 list, his whitelist software, they'll all be in the show notes over at theactivemarketer.com/deliverability. And I want to thank you for spending some time with us. We got lots of great shows coming up. We're going to check back in on our case study. We've got some Tactical 20s coming up and some other great interviews as well. So we'll see you next time. In the meantime, get out there and design, automate, and scale your business to the next level with sales and marketing automation. See you, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Active Marketer Podcast. You can find the show notes and all the latest marketing automation news over at theactivemarketer.com.